What's up guys? It is June 15th, which means today is a very special day. It means I turn 34 today. Happy birthday to you! So today I'm having a picnic with a bunch of friends at the park. And so we're going to Fort Mason in San Francisco. They have an amazing park there that overlooks the ocean. And we're gonna bring some food and just hang out. Since moving to Vegas, I haven't had a lot of time to catch up with people, so I'm super excited to do that today. Happy birthday, dear Jason. Happy birthday to you. All right, so we are on our way to Fort Mason. So when I was in my 20s, I used to think that like turning 30 was this like super scary event. But I've been finding that my 30s have been some of the best years of my life. So I highly recommend being in your 30s if you're in your 20s. I can't speak for 40s and 50s and 60s, but I look forward to it and I think it's gonna be amazing. Ellen, is that what you brought for lunch?
Yeah, this is my lunch.
This is your picnic?
Yeah, Ben just produced it.
So this is fresh, free-range poo. Ban ban poo.
Organic.
Organic. Wait, is it organic? I don't know about that. Definitely free range, I can see the evidence right there. So I went from the super hot Las Vegas heat to 50 degrees in San Francisco and cloudy and kind of rainy. So Ellen, tell me the story of Ban Ban.
So we went to the shelter just on a random day and I saw him there. And so cute, super short with this big head, just looked ridiculous. So a week later.
Is that also how you choose your boyfriends?
I like my boyfriend have longer legs.
Longer legs? Okay, I guess you chose the right one.
Now he lives with his dad and I just pester him whenever I can.
Wait, so does that make me the stepdad?
There are a lot of stepdads so far.
How many stepdads does Ban Ban have? Jesus.
I'm a little confused. Yeah. It's like
any stepmoms?
It's like a
love at first sight. Ban Ban, am I the best stepdad you've ever had? You know, Ban Ban, when you don't say anything, that means you've had a lot.
So if you look at his feet, it looks like Basset Hound. But the hair looks like a Golden Retriever.
He's so calm, it's a
reflection of owner's personality.
Did he become shorter as a result of you owning him? Alright, Ban Ban, I'm gonna teach you the power of compounded returns, alright? So, if you have a bone and you let your friend borrow a bone, but then you charge him 8% bone every year, well then in 8 years you double the number of bones that you have. So, if you are diligent about saving your bones and you borrow your surplus bones, then in the future you'll have more bones. So that's basically investing 101. What do you think?
When I adopted Ban Ban, I went to the shelter and then they just neutered him. And then the vet said that he has a really big balls. And I didn't know.
Is that also how you select boyfriends? So Ellen has a really cute way of saying noodles. Okay, so I realized what it is. So you say noodle. I go eat the noodle. Noodle. Noodle.
Noodle.
Who's this person behind me? You guys the only people here? No one came out for my birthday. It's so sad. Only my family and Ban Ban.
And me.
Alright Justin, so how do you know me?
I guess we like had to grow up in the same house.
Ban Ban, how do I know Justin?
We came from the same mother.
So what's happening today, Justin?
It's your birthday. And no one's here yet.
This is what happens to me. I invite people to things and no one shows up. It's so sad. Jason brought a...
The floor might be wet.
Huh?
He said the floor might be
It was
wet.
kind of rainy this morning.
So this is the blanket that Jason brought.
So it fits the butt pretty well if you look at it.
That's for the butt.
It's bespoke to his butt. That's what I've been doing for the past year, by the way. Just been catching up with like 8 seasons of Game of Thrones. The way I see it is that these are all embodiments of different ideas within history, but also within what you see in the current world. Cersei is basically an embodiment of the philosophy of tribalism. If you're not family and blood, then you're not important. So if you anchor your identity to your family and your blood, then what happens is that everybody else doesn't matter. If you look at Cersei, right? Cersei is a representation of dedication to an ideal. So her ideal is like, I want to, you know, these are the victims, which are all the slaves. That's like a lot of identity politics you see today, Republican versus whatever, right? And so basically if you identify as Republican, then you see everything that's not Republican as wrong. And so if you look at all that, at the end of the day, who was king? Well, Bran became king. Bran represents the egoless. He became the three-eyed raven, right? And part of that is that he lost his sense of self. In fact, he stopped calling himself Bran. That all these kingdoms are fighting together. Everyone has their own identities that they're fighting with. And then what actually unites them? Well, they're the dead and we're all the living. Oh, okay. If we identify with the living, then we're one team. And this is all the dead. And then suddenly they're all united, right? Because they're anchored under the same identity. I actually thought that that would be the message, you know, like, you know, world peace. This is how we achieve world peace, is when people start to realize that it's not about family, it's not about ideals. Like, we are human at the end of the day. We have like, what, 200 some countries, you know? But if you think about it, country is just a fiction. I mean, like, it's not like, if you think about France or you think about the United States, all it is just a fiction that everyone buys into. And it's not really a real thing. Like, at the end of the day, we're all people, you know? So the fact that we're all fighting together actually doesn't make very much sense unless you change that anchor onto something that's more permanent. In meditation and enlightenment, what happens is that when you really do this exercise of like trying to be the observer behind the thinker, then you can actually do this exercise where you start to anchor your sense of identity to the observer itself. When you start to anchor your identity into something that is, you know, beyond status, beyond family, beyond your ideology, and into something that is a lot more permanent, which is like the pure consciousness that you are, you know, the pure consciousness that you are, that you observe when you're in meditation. I think that anchor is what gives you a sense of peace, because suddenly you're connected to everything. Hi!
Hey! Hi!
How's it going?
Good, how are you? Happy birthday!
Good, thank you. Good to see you.
Good to see you too, long time.
Happy birthday.
How's it going?
I haven't seen you all, man. You guys have great travel pics. But damn, she looks better in every single picture.
So I always do a vote where like whose picture was better, mine or hers, and like everyone chooses hers. It's really sad.
She wins, man.
It's
She
really
wins.
sad, yeah.
She wins, yeah.
It's rough being a guy. Alright, so we're discussing this and we just figured out what mix Banban is. So Banban is actually a sea lion pit bull mix. First in the world. What is this crap in here?
This is a Shruti box. So there is a instrument called a harmonia, and it's a British instrument, and it has bellows and then piano keys. And it was something that they would take with them on boats and ships and as they traveled. And so as they colonized different countries, they took their instruments with them, and they took it to India, and the Indians took the keys off and just left the bellows and added vowels. So it basically creates a drone.
Alright, Jen, show us how it's done. Show us how. She's looking at me like, you don't know what you're doing.
Have you played the Shruti box?
No, I haven't. I'll watch it.
Sure.
For sure. Wait, so
All you have to do is move the valve.
Oh, did you hear that?
What?
She said that this is Tyrion. Alright, that was so awesome. Thank you everyone for coming out. That was such a great event. Like, we talked about everything from how Diablo 2 taught us about monetary policy to, you know, egoic breakdown, and now we're gonna go over to Ellen's place and I'll hang out at her really tiny living room. So we'll see how this works out. Hi. So, you know, I'm like a professional vlogger now, so I have to...
Is this for your channel?
This is for my channel, yes, for my channel.
Oh, I'm gonna be so famous.
I have 30 subscribers now, 30 subscribers.
I'll be 31.
Oh, 31, okay.
32.
Oh shit, okay, now, so I increased my subscriber base by 10% today. This is great.
Hi, Mom. I know you're cold.
So we're all hanging out in Ellen's living room. This is the most people she's ever had in her living room.
Before you adopted it, you got these or something. No, you adopted it.
That's awesome.